This is Marcus Farrell Live. Today we're talking about villains, not the ones you see in Marvel movies or comic books, but the kind of villains that show up in real life, on the court, the field, or the ring. Sports villains. The kind of people who make you scream at your TV, boo from the stands, or secretly root for them even though you know you shouldn't. Because here's the truth. Sports without villains is just cardio with uniforms. You need the drama, you need the bad guy, you need the person who makes the hero's journey actually matter. And today I'm giving you the top 5 sports villains of all time. But I'm not just giving you names, I'm giving you their origin stories, the chaos they created, the cultural impact, and the scars they left on the game. Buckle up. Let's start with Bill Laimbeer and the Detroit Pistons. Now, if you were around in the late 80s, you know exactly where this is going. The Pistons weren't just a basketball team, they were a demolition crew. They called them the Bad Boys, and Bill Laimbeer was their captain of chaos. 7 feet tall, mean as hell, and his whole game plan was simple: hit people. Forget analytics, forget finesse. Laimbeer's box score looked like an injury report. He and his teammates literally created the Jordan rules, a defensive strategy that meant every time Michael Jordan got near the rim, knock him on his ass. Clothesline him, tackle him, make him regret lacing his sneakers. And you know what? It worked. They kept MJ and the Bulls from a championship for years. When Jordan finally broke through in 1991 and swept the Pistons, Laimbeer led his crew right off the court before the final buzzer. No handshakes, no congratulations, just pure villain pettiness. Detroit fans loved it. Chicago still curses his name. That's the thing about Laimbeer. He made basketball look like professional wrestling, and he didn't care if the whole world hated him for it. Now let's move to the NFL and talk about Terrell Owens. Was not just one of the greatest wide receivers ever, he was one of the greatest agitators. This man didn't just score touchdowns, he turned them into Broadway shows. He scored in Dallas, sprinted to the star logo of midfield, and stretched his arms out like he was baptizing the Cowboys. They tackled him, got mad, and what did he do? He did it again. That's not celebration, that's war. He pulled a Sharpie out of his sock after a touchdown, autographed the ball, and handed it to a fan. Who even thinks of that? He grabbed pom-poms from a cheerleader mid-game and did a cheer routine. He had more choreography than halftime performers. And then came the driveway press conference. Instead of answering reporters inside the locker room, he did shirtless sit-ups in his driveway while answering questions about team drama. Who does that? A villain, that's who. And here's the kicker. He was usually right. He exposed bad quarterbacks, lazy teammates, and management lies. But he did it in such a nuclear way that it left scorched earth behind him. He wasn't just a villain, he was the reality TV star the NFL didn't know it needed. Now let's step into the ring with Mike Tyson. And let me be clear right now, Mike Tyson is one of my personal favorites. I love Mike Tyson. In his prime, he wasn't just a boxer, he was a natural disaster. He became the youngest heavyweight champion at 21 and knocked people out so fast that if you went to the kitchen to grab snacks, you might miss the fight. His walkouts were terrifying. No music, no flashy robes, just a towel cut into a poncho, black trunks, black boots, no socks, and a stare that made grown men look like middle schoolers. Opponents lost before the bell even rang. But then came the dark side. In 1997, frustrated during his fight with Evander Holyfield, Mike bit his ear. Not once, twice. The whole world gasped. He went from unstoppable champion to international villain in one moment. And yet, here's the truth. I've always loved Mike. Post-boxing, he has shown this teddy bear side, talking openly about his struggles, raising pigeons, cracking jokes, starring in movies, even selling edibles. But let me warn you, he is still Mike Tyson. Do not play with him. Do not fuffo. The man may meditate now, but he still has the fastest hands on earth and the darkest stare in sports history. Tyson is the Shakespearean villain of athletics, terrifying, tragic, misunderstood, beloved, hated, and unforgettable. Now let's fly across the ocean to Diego Maradona. Soccer fans know this man was a living contradiction. To Argentina, he was a god. To England, he was the devil. In the 1986 World Cup quarterfinal against England, he scored one of the most infamous goals of all time. With his hand, he literally punched the ball into the net, and when asked about it, he called it the hand of God. The arrogance was next level. But then minutes later, he scored the goal of the century, weaving past half the English team like they were traffic cones, proving he didn't even need to cheat to be great. That's what made him a villain. He could rob you blind and then show you brilliance right after. Off the field, he was just as chaotic: cocaine scandals, mafia connections, political fights. He lived his life like a ticking time bomb, but he was magnetic. People loved him because he was flawed and brilliant all at once. Millions showed up to his funeral because he wasn't just an athlete, he was a myth. And myths are always messy. Finally, the number one sports villain of all time, Floyd Money Mayweather. 50 wins, 0 losses, undefeated. But Floyd wasn't just boxing, he was playing a bigger game. He branded himself money and then rubbed it in everyone's face. Rolls Royce cars, diamond watches, $1 million bets. He wanted you to hate him because hate sells pay-per-views. People paid billions to watch Floyd fight, not because they wanted to see him win, but because they wanted to see him lose. And every time he disappointed them. He embarrassed Pacquiao. He humbled Canelo. He made Oscar De La Hoya miss like he was swinging at ghosts. He didn't knock people out. He humiliated them for 12 rounds and then cashed a check big enough to buy small countries. And he never apologized for it. That's why he's the ultimate villain. He didn't just take your favorite fighter's dignity, he took your money too, and then laughed about it on Instagram. Floyd Mayweather is the blueprint for a villain who doesn't need your love, doesn't care about your booze, and retires undefeated while you're still mad about it. So that's the Mount Rushmore of sports villains: Bill Lane Beer and the Bad Boys, Terrell Owens, Mike Tyson, Diego Maradona, and Floyd Mayweather. Each one changed their sport. Each one forced us to feel something. Because without villains, heroes don't shine. Michael Jordan needed Lane Beer. The NFL needed T.O. Boxing needed Tyson's terror and Mayweather's arrogance. Soccer needed Maradona's chaos. Villains turned games into sagas and athletes into legends. So now it's your turn. Who's your sports villain? Tom Brady with the deflated footballs? Barry Bonds smashing home runs with a wink and a syringe? Serena Williams staring down an umpire like she could flip the whole stadium over? Drop your pick in the comments. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Marcus Farrell Live. Because here, I don't just give you the highlights. I give you the story behind the story. The culture, the chaos, the villains that make sports unforgettable.